Welcome to the Encouragement for Work podcast with your host, Mark Griffin, founder and owner of In His Name HR. Each week, Mark interviews nationally known thought leaders from corporate America, higher education, churches, and ministries. His goal is to bring you great ideas that help engage your employees, shift your culture toward higher performance, and increase employee loyalty at the organization you lead. Each episode features an idea or process that's made a tremendous impact on employees and employers alike. Now sit back, relax, and listen in as he delivers encouragement today through this episode's special guest.
Hello, and welcome to the Encouragement for Work podcast. I'm your host, Mark Griffin. Today, I am just so excited to have Patricia Wright on our show. Patricia's going to talk to us about something that's really near and dear to my heart, because before COVID-19, I was really looking at relational poverty and what's going on in the United States. There's a great book out called Bowling Alone, and I started to read that book, and it talked about the deterioration of relationships in the United States. But since COVID-19, folks, it's gotten worse. But we have an expert to help us with the societal issue. Patricia Wright, welcome to the Encouragement for Work podcast. Why don't you let our listeners know, please, a little bit about your background?
All right, thanks, Mark. It's great to be a part of this conversation. As Mark noted, my name is Patricia Wright, and I'm the Executive Director at Upward Call Counseling Services. Upward Call has been a part of working with our community in the counseling area and in mental health. But we have also experienced a lot of different changes in our agency. And so this has really increased the need for our agency to develop and work with this area of relational poverty. We're looking at how we can come together. So I'm thrilled to speak into this topic today, Mark. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we're so excited to have you here on our broadcast because you're right. There is issues, especially here in Lancaster County, with relational poverty. So to help our listeners with understanding relational poverty, let's just define it. How would you define it, Patricia? What's relational poverty? What's the impact on employees' well-being and performance? And then as you define it, I'll probably have some greater questions.
Okay, very good. Well, relational poverty at its basics refers to the lack of a meaningful relationship within the agency. So relationships really are supportive in a person's life, especially in professional settings, because employees may tend to feel isolated, and it doesn't just affect morale. It can lead to burnout, it can lead to disengagement, and it can even lead to higher turnover rates. So when we look at relational poverty, it's easy for us in our ministries, in our agencies, to go in a door, provide counseling in our situation, and come back out and not meet with our team. And there's a real void there.
Sure.
When we think about wellness and health and well-being, relationships are integral to being healthy and preventing this burnout. But also, Mark, we can't develop effective change or innovation or strategic planning without coming together as an agency,
Exactly.
Walking out that same mission, that same vision.
Thank you, Patricia. It's around the mission, the vision, the values.
Yes.
That's exactly it. If you can't get people aligned behind that, you're lacking as an organization with the trajectory, and you can't reach your goals. You won't be effective. And that's what we're seeing within the workplace. Workplaces aren't creating those spaces where employees can get together on a regular basis, do some brainstorming, come up with some great ideas on how to better the organization. That's relational poverty internally to the organization, which is heartbreaking because as believers or followers of Christ, we should be creating workplaces of inclusion and brainstorming and having people give input. So we've defined relational poverty, and interestingly enough, as we define this, Patricia, you defined it internally to the organization, because externally we talk about relational poverty with people not going to PTA meetings, not being engaged in the community. And what I'm seeing from an HR perspective is without that engagement in the community and without that engagement internally to the companies, they're rushing into counseling. They're coming to Upward Call because they have no outlet. They don't have friends anymore to discuss issues. Are you seeing the increase of loneliness, and that's why people are showing up to get counseling?
Yes, indeed. We are seeing the increase in loneliness and also, Mark, the concept of not being heard.
Wow.
Not feeling valued.
So, what's some thoughts? And I realize this is a very special podcast that we're having today because we deal with a lot of HR leaders, directors, VPs, big Christian colleges, but also big Christian family-owned businesses as well. When you're thinking about this, how would you coach those leaders? What would you say that they need to be doing on two folds? One, internally to engage people, and then the other externally. How do you get them engaged into the community?
Well, internally, we look at communication and leadership strategies, even at the counseling level. And when we enhance that communication and the crucial conversations that occur within their teams, and we encourage those team dynamics, when we encourage that, we see the individual be able to reach out and improve social skills, improve leadership skills, improve communication skills. And then we begin to find that collaboration you spoke about, Mark.
Sure.
That collaboration that's so needed.
That's great. That's wonderful. What about externally?
So the external component is quite significant as well, because we need a team, we need a community to build. We need a community for our own well-being.
Sure.
So to connect and to reach out to others in our community, whether it would be churches or groups that we have, businesses, we are all in this forming and walking out a vision together. So that collaboration is important.
Exactly. Yep. And we have to walk in lockstep moving forward if we're going to be effective. And I think, from an HR perspective, how we can help organizations break that cycle is come up with a volunteer day. Survey your employees. First and foremost, survey your employees. How can we better communicate with you? How can we get your ideas implemented? Listen to your employees. Have focus groups. Those are all great ideas. But survey, what do you need to be effective? How can we help you? And then set up systems and programs to be able to hear your employees and have that input. But volunteer in the community, like Habitat for Humanity, that's great. Some of the greatest joy that I've witnessed is mission trips. That's not unheard of. A company could sponsor, hey, if you want to go to Haiti, if you want to go to Dominican Republic, would love to send a team, and we're going to sponsor. We're going to give you the time off vacation-wise, and we'll help you raise the money to go serve. That's heart-changing. And then that gets all through the organization. That's breaking relational poverty, not only internally, but then externally as you serve the kingdom of the Lord. So in our second point, Patricia, HR's role in fostering a workplace culture that promotes connection and emotional support. We know, and many of our listeners know, EAPs went out the door many years ago because of the documentation. It was really in vogue and fashionable, and many organizations did use them, and I think they were very effective. But because of regulations with Obamacare, it just became, you couldn't do it anymore. It wasn't cost effective. So with that being said, how do you advise HR folks, or what would you tell HR people their role should be?
Well, I think open door communication is a start. And recently, Mark, we've done something at Upward Call that has been very effective for us. And I'd like to share it with you very briefly.
Sure. That'd be wonderful.
My research for my dissertation is change management and how important collaboration is for our changes that we're undergoing. So recently, we wanted to look at the power of pulling our team together and our stakeholders and saying collaboratively, speak to us and share with us what you see the next cycle of change is for this agency. And the ideas, Mark, and the input and their investment in that was so powerful. And there was such excitement, and it was a catalyst for team building, for strategic planning, for an innovation, for initiatives. Wow, it was a small thing.
Sure.
And we met several different times with focus groups, as you mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
And that really worked well, Mark. We've really seen some value.
It makes a huge difference because many years ago, I was leading HR over Canada, and Canada has very generous benefits mandated to all employees. And we kept getting a lot of negative feedback in our surveys around the benefits, but really unfounded. Like it shouldn't have been that way. So we had a focus group. And when we had the focus group, some of the participants said, we heard that there was a woman that had a baby and the baby was stillborn and they didn't pay the life insurance. So the parents, didn't have the money for burial and so on and so forth. And we were like, wow. So looked at all the documentation and found out that it was written that way. It was unintentional. And for just a few dollars, you could cover, the burial if it was a stillbirth. And the company corrected it immediately. But we would have never found that out had we not had the focus group. Focus groups are just an incredible way of doing things. Now, lastly, we're going to talk about our third point, and that's strategies for integrating counseling services, mentorships, faith-based support to help employees build meaningful relationships. But before Patricia gives us some guidance in that area, listeners, it's really important for you to understand you need to build in your mission, vision, values. If you're a Christian-owned for-profit business, we're a company founded on Christian principles, if that's the truth. It's not illegal to say that, but if you're going to do Bible studies, if you're going to do prayer, and of course, none of that is going to be made mandated to anybody, but you need to ingrain that into your culture when people are being interviewed for the position. They should be handed the mission, vision, values. We're having issues in Florida where employees are saying, hey, I don't want to do this. I didn't know about this when I got hired. And they're not being forced to do it. They're just being near it. So we want to make sure that you understand how important it is to memorialize that. So with that being said, Patricia, why don't you wrap us up with some practical strategies?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Several of the strategies that we use is we really put before us, as you noted, the mission of the agency, but we connect with our other community members. It's really important to connect that we're all in this together, so the team building factor in our community, in our agency is so powerful, and we must be intentional to build that team. It's very strategic. It can fall by the wayside when we have a lot of different counseling and different things that we're working on. So it must be prioritized, the team building, the connections. We can't do it alone. And of course, our agency really looks at the body of Christ and working together. So that's in the forefront. Very, very important. And secondly, we do a lot of development and mentorship in our agency. We connect, we take more experienced counselors and we put them through with interns or new counselors and supervise and direct their journey in gaining more experience and becoming more mature in the field. And then there is a relationship built. And then, of course, we look at how do we partner with organizations and how do we join their community and their mission as well.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for being on Encouragement for Work. My prayer is in 2026, we're going to level up all the organizations across the United States. We're going to bring positivity. We're going to bring encouragement. We're going to break the cycle of relational poverty. That's my prayer over the nation today, is breaking off relational poverty in Jesus' name. That's what we're looking for in 2026. So listeners, thank you for tuning in. Patricia, you continue to have an amazing day. God bless. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
This episode of Encouragement for Work has been brought to you by Job Shepherd. Post-COVID-19 recruitment has been unquestionably hard for employers, with many struggling to find quality employees in the aftermath. Religious exempt employers have had an especially difficult time. Welcome to Job Shepherd, a platform that will change all of this for you. Job Shepherd was created to meet the demand by Christian employers, including ministries, camps, churches, colleges, and Christian for-profit companies in their search for qualified job candidates. Now, for a limited time only, employers post a job for free. Job seekers, come join us. You are always free. Learn more at www.jobshepherd.com.